Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
And welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project. I am your host, Brian Clune, and I am joined by...
This is Pete Haviland in the sunny skies of Houston, Texas, where it's like 43 degrees.
Wait. How could it be sunny? I'm in California and it's dark here. So, Pete, what have you been doing that makes you think there is sun out?
That's what the dark shadow said on the wall.
Wait. So a dark shadow told you it was sunny out. You know what? Whatever you're on, I don't want any.
It's called flu. I'll be more than happy to send you something.
You know what? I'll pass this time. But you know, thank you for being, so giving for that.
I'll spit in a Christmas card. How's that?
Oh, but you know what? That'll work.
I thought you might like that.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, we are also joined by Angie. Say hello.
Hey, y'all.
Hello, Miss Mole. How you doing?
I am doing just fine.
Good.
And she's so talkative too.
Hey, things have passed. I'm happy.
Well, it would really suck if we had somebody doing news that didn't want to talk.
Well, there is that, yeah. So, all right. So anyway, we are joined today by Alex Matsuo. Did I pronounce that right, Alex?
Matsuo. Yeah, you're close.
Matsuo. Okay, good. And we are going to be talking about Slenderman tonight. The myth, the actuality, and hopefully everything Slenderman. However, before we get to that, I had a question for everybody on the show.
Here we go.
No. Did any of you guys ever either own or sleep on a waterbed?
Yes.
Hey,
no here.
no?
I think Alex said yes.
Alex, that was you that said yes?
No.
No, that was Angie.
Okay. Well, that was Angie.
We'll blame Alex. We'll blame Alex.
Yeah, we can blame Alex for this one.
Okay.
Well, how about it, Alex? Did you ever sleep on a waterbed or own a waterbed?
I did. Well, I slept on a waterbed once, maybe when I was a kid.
Yeah. So if you guys were like me, when I was sleeping on a waterbed, it would always drive me crazy. You would have these waves going back and forth, right? Or was that just me? No?
That was just you. If you wouldn't move, nothing.
Yeah, we might not want to go there, but yeah, we'll keep that, where it is. So anyway, one of the things that always drove me nuts is I always wanted to figure out how to give it more bounce, right? And I finally figured it out, and it was the most simple trick that. I don't know why I didn't think of it first, but to make a waterbed...
Alex, I apologize ahead of time. Go ahead.
To make a waterbed more bouncy, all you have to do, I'm not kidding, is add spring water.
Huh.
Oh, God. Angie, my head hurts. You hit him.
I want a divorce.
I'm hurt.
Oh, my head hurts. So we haven't even gotten into the show yet.
I mean,
Okay, go ahead.
I am really hurt. I was trying to give you guys a tip, and
you should be hurt with a brick.
This is the thanks I get. Oh my Lord.
You know what? You hurt me too. Your
Did you get hurt
jokes
on
are
that one? I
painful.
just thought it was me.
No, his jokes are painful.
What do you mean a joke? I was trying to give you guys a tip in case you ever got another waterbed. I mean,
Alex,
Where can I
Alex,
get one?
Alex, the scary thing is that he works on these for a week,
Mhm.
Nice.
and that's as good as it gets.
do not. Okay, so anyway, maybe we ought to get into the show.
Yeah, Brian, why don't we start the show, please? We're losing listeners.
Are you sure?
Sure we are.
Oh,
You're losing your newscaster.
Okay,
That's the other one.
all right.
Don't upset the newscaster. We need.
Okay, well, we'll get into the show then.
Okay.
So,
We'll have a talk after the show.
yeah, Angie and Pete will have a talk after the show. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, Alex, how did you get started in doing the type of research you do, and how did you start researching myths like the Slender Man?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, let's see. I mean, like everybody, most people, I had experiences when I was a kid, and I kind of went through this like back and forth of like being interested in it, wanting to investigate more. Then I had experiences that freaked me out, and I decided to take a break from it for a bit while I was going to college. And when I started going to grad school, I got really interested in researching like myths and lore and whatnot. And my master's degree is in theater, so it was a lot of that, because a lot of our greatest plays and musicals are based on lore and legends. And I have to say that was probably where really I got my start in that. And then once I realized there was a connection between that and our, supernatural experiences and stories and everything, it was kind of like the light bulb went off. And then when it came to like Slender Man, I was just really fascinated with urban legends. I think Black Eyed Kids might have been my gateway urban legend, especially with the innovation of the internet and just how stories like these can spread like wildfire now, thanks to the internet, and how the internet has really impacted that.
Well, yeah. So I was kind of wondering, can you give us the Slender Man origin story? Where did the original Slender Man story come from?
That is a great question. So, some people might be familiar with it's the message board or the community Something Awful.
Okay.
We could say that is where Slender Man originated. A lot of people will say that it was more of a creepypasta origin. I mean, I would say the legend cultivated on creepypasta, but basically it started off on Something Awful. It was this online community message board. I think they still exist. And
Alex, if you don't mind, just real quick, I'm sorry, can you please explain creepypasta to me?
Yeah, so creepypasta, I'm actually not in the community, but basically it's an online community, and it's basically in entries with user-generated paranormal stories. So some of them it's like murder, suicide, some of it is horror fiction, and really it's like this wonderful place of amateur horror stories, and a lot of stuff has actually come from creepypasta. I mean, people will write full out novels on creepypasta. So now it has kind of become like a hub for also people who like to troll others, but
doesn't everything on the internet, it seems.
Right, yeah. So Something Awful had this contest, and the whole point of the contest was participants had to create a photo that looked paranormal. And you had to use average everyday photos. So nothing like, artistic, just like a snapshot or a Polaroid, and make that look paranormal. And this guy named Eric Knudsen made an entry, and his online persona was Victor Surge. And he basically got 2 black and white photos of kids, and he inserted Slenderman into the background. And it did so well in the contest, and the reaction to it was so like widespread that people on Something Awful were like, let's make more of these images. Let's make more of these images and just start posting them on the internet just to freak people out, and let's see what happens.
So when was the Something Awful contest? How long ago was that?
About 11 years ago, 2009.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Slenderman is it's all over a decade old now, actually.
So that's kind of interesting because when I was doing some research for the show, and naturally, since we're thinking that Slenderman was most likely created by creepypasta, like you said, or as creepypasta, I guess. I noticed something when I was doing research that said that he has been around since at least the 1600s. All right. So if he was created back in 2009, do you think that he could have been confused or is being confused with another creature that first came to light in the 1600s? Or do you think maybe this Eric, whatever his name was, created Slenderman by this same older myth?
So Eric Knudsen actually found inspiration to create Slenderman from H.P. Lovecraft. He was inspired by Lovecraft and Stephen King. Slenderman's look came from The Mist, which is a story from Stephen King. And of course, Slenderman's got the tentacles sprouting out of his back. That was also very much a Lovecraftian inspiration right there. So Slenderman actually has no official canon. And basically any stories and origins that we have of Slenderman is coming from Something Awful and creepypasta. Because Eric Knudsen is he's a normal guy, and he literally just created Slenderman from his own inspiration. There wasn't any really like any lore that Slenderman was based on. Anything that you read with Slenderman's origins, it totally came from people on these message boards creating this story, and that's what's so fascinating about it.
Gotcha. Okay, so I had read that originally Slenderman was portrayed basically as an extremely dangerous, malevolent being that would stalk his targets before, and this is actually a quote, he would then impale them on trees and remove their organs. Did these come from the initial meme or whatever it was in 2009, or did these tales come about through the internet hysteria, imagination? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of this information came to light when the several preteens and teens were committing crimes in honor of Slenderman, and so prosecutors were really digging deep into, okay, where is this coming from? And really, it comes from online hysteria, as you mentioned. And the crazy thing with Slenderman, I mentioned he has no official canon. Eric Knudsen basically kind of did the hands-off approach with Slenderman, especially after the crimes made national news and stuff. And I think that was because he didn't want anything to do with it, because he didn't want to like implicate himself in the court, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of it is coming from, I mean, because creepypasta is a hub for horror stories, fictional horror stories. And of course, when all it takes is a spark. So with something like, oh, he impales people and takes out their organs in the woods. I mean, if someone's reading creepypasta and doesn't know that it's fiction, and then they write, like, say, a blog entry about Slenderman, and they say, according to legend, according to lore, or according to eyewitnesses, then it starts taking on a different life of its own. So,
as in like a tulpa?
Um, I'm not really 100% on board with that. Because so I have several family members who are Buddhists, and tulpas do come from really in the area of Buddhism, and
Okay.
we've talked about tulpas quite a bit, and it takes an intense amount of concentration, not just energy, but concentration to create a tulpa, so to speak.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's not something that can be created in like a day, a week, a month. A tulpa is a cultivation of like years of work. So,
Kind of like a
and
thoughtful.
yeah, so and there's, it has to be intention behind it. I believe like people reading about Slenderman, I don't think that can create a tulpa or a thought form. Now, if like say with these girls who were trying to basically murder other people in the name of Slenderman, that might be a bit different there. But yeah, so that's kind of where we get into some gray areas there, because I feel like with like say haunted locations like Waverly Hills, where we've been fed the same stories over and over and over again, and we go in with that mindset, that could be contributing to a thought form, so to speak. Kind of
Or
like
a
the
group
like
conscious kind of a thing.
yeah, kind of like kind of like a big Philip experiment, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, but when it comes to Slenderman, I feel like there might be enough people out there that know Slenderman is not real. Um, I don't know. But that's a good question. I don't know if we can will Slenderman into existence. I mean, it would be disturbing if we could, because you know Slenderman's canon. Well, and that's the other thing. Slenderman does not have a consistent canon, so I feel like
Okay.
that could also contribute to the lack of manifestation, so to speak, if that makes sense.
It does. You know, today, and it seems kind of odd to me that a creature or character, whatever you want to call him, that was invented by the internet, and you had the original, you know, him being this evil, malevolent creature. It seems today what I keep hearing is that he's depicted more of a passive aggressive type of creature, that instead of, you know, just stalking his targets and then impaling them, or, you know, attacking him violently, he'll slowly try and drive his victims into madness. He tries to make them become unable to cope with the situation, watching them go insane. How does something like that even change? Is that another just, you know, people in the internet have decided, let's just change who Slenderman is?
That's a good question. I almost feel like that's that would ooh, um that would almost have to be like a group like decision. Because there's really like nobody that owns the canon of Slenderman, so to speak, which what you just described, it reminds me a lot of what they depicted in the movie, which that was decided by a group of writers, you know, creative directors and whatnot. So, and if someone's watching that movie, that could definitely be a part. It could be a part of like the quote unquote official canon of Slenderman. So, and of course, when you put that idea out there, and then I don't know how many people saw Slenderman in the movies or in the cinemas. I'll have to say, we'll say 1 million, since that's probably about the average back when the movie came out. So if enough people see that and they believe it and accept it, yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, 'cause it just seemed kind of odd to me, like I said, as I was doing research, to see the transition from this complete, just, you know, in your face type of creature to somebody who, or something who now has the patience to basically drive his victims insane. It just seemed a little bit interesting to see the transformation. Anyway, I'm sorry, we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll continue speaking with Alex Matsuo about Slenderman.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the world wide web of weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
And welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB out of Birmingham, Alabama. If you haven't already joined the chat room, please go to the chat room at WBHM-DB.com. And if you would like to call in with questions for either us or our guest, you can call in to area code 205-533-7982. So, Alex, we were kind of talking about how Slenderman has changed over the last few years. And the thing that I was mentioning is that now he is associated with stalking, basically. So he takes these really long periods of time to mess with people. The reports are that he usually appears trailing his target when they least expect it, usually when they're alone. And this is one way that he likes to wear his victims down. Waits for them to get to the point where they just don't care anymore, which makes it easier for him to kill. Mm-hmm. My question is as starting out as this evil, vicious creature, why would he need, first of all, to wear somebody down to make it easier for them to kill, and why go through the trouble of taking this long to attack his target? What does he get out of it?
I've thought about that often because I'm so just fascinated with just Slenderman just in general, especially with the evolution of his story. And it's almost like, at least to me, it's almost like with Black Eyed Kids, when with the lore behind that, they want to feed off of people's energy of their flight or fight vibe that they let off when they get freaked out. And I think he would get some sort of satisfaction out of that, or it could be just another like source of energy from him, because I totally believe that in the world of Slenderman, according to Alex, he's definitely powerful enough to wreak havoc and cause damage and destruction with just like a flick of a wrist, so to speak. I think Slenderman is fascinated by humans and with just the human condition and whatnot. At least that's what I have in my head. And I think he gets something out of it. He gets a kick out of that. And of course, on the other side of that coin is we could say that maybe he's not as powerful as we think he is, and he's got to do that psychological tear down, kind of like going into the lore of demonology, where to achieve that perfect possession, they have to break down their victim's psyche, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that aspect of it, but it seems to me that if he was created, as, and I don't want to say this all-powerful being, but this creature that could, basically just impale people on trees, rip their innards out and things like that, it just seems kind of odd to me that the myth would change so drastically, over, I think you said it'd be about 11 years. It just seems a little bit odd. Now, one of the things I was wondering about, now we had stalking before naturally, but it seems like from I don't know, maybe 2005 up to present, it seems like stalking had gotten a lot more prevalent. Like, maybe it was just that the news was reporting it more often, or, it was happening more often. And I'm wondering whether the whole stalker aspect of Slenderman might come from the rising actual stalking cases that we've seen over the last decade. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think when we look at the changes with Slenderman's behaviors and whatnot, we definitely need to look at what was going on in the media and around our world at that time. And so I think you are onto something there, especially with, oh gosh, we're talking like 2005-ish. So the whole idea of stalking, especially in like the early to mid 2000s, was very much romanticized. I kind of blame Twilight for that.
We won't even go into that. Thank you.
Go into that. But then on the flip side, you had, like you mentioned, a lot of these stalking cases happening. So I think it's really like targeting what was freaking people out the most at the time. And just like with Slenderman's story really just changes depending on the storyteller. And because people want their story to go viral or get popular, they're going to write what is most relevant for the time. Yeah. So, and plus the whole stalking thing, especially, and I think this came from like the idea of the photos that Eric Knudsen originally made. You have black and white photos of kids, playing and just doing their thing. And then you have this creepy thing just off to the distance, just lurking and watching. And I think that really messes with your mind. Like, I could just be living my day-to-day life, and there could be somebody watching me right now, and I wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
Well, bringing that up, I remember, there was that Slenderman murder case. Do you think that had anything Well, the little girl that tried to kill her friend mentioned Slender Man, but do you how much? I personally think that it was a mental condition, but how much do you think that that was part of that case, and do you know anything about that case?
Oh yeah. So I've done a lot of research into. There's been multiple Slenderman cases. So the one that you're talking about actually involved two 12-year-old girls. Um,
Right.
and so with that one, I think that is 100% mental illness there.
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
thought too.
100% mental illness, because you have two 12-year-old girls, very impressionable. And the thing was, like, depending on which perspective you read, but they wanted to summon Slender Man, but then they got freaked. Anissa Weir, and Morgan Geyser. They
Right.
they like summoned Slender Man, and then they thought they had summoned Slender Man, and they got so freaked out that they wanted to make a sacrifice to appease him so that he would leave them and their families alone. Now, with Geyser did say that she had been having hallucinations since I think she was like 2 or 3. So, and when you have two very impressionable 12-year-old girls, one of them is, I mean, Morgan Geyser was definitely, definitely had something going on mentally. I can't say for Anissa Weir, but you get wrapped up in that hysteria. And I mean, if they were that freaked out about it, I mean, I'm trying to think back when I was 11 or 12. I mean, I was in 6th grade. Yeah, sixth or 7th grade. It's a super impressionable age. And thank goodness that girl survived. I mean, but at the same time, she was stabbed 19 times, but she was stabbed in the arms, legs, torso. And I think one of those stabbings just missed her artery by less than a millimeter, which, I mean,
Yeah, I
lucky.
think I read something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
but
that
I
was a
know her.
definite blessing.
Yeah,
Yeah, her
she's
liver
lucky
and
to be
stomach definitely
alive.
got. I'm trying to remember. There's another one that involved a 12-year-old, a 12 or 13-year-old girl. There were quite a few. Oh yeah, it was a 13-year-old girl in Ohio attacked her mom with a knife.
Wow.
That same year, these all happened in the same year, which kind of blew my mind. I was like, wait, what? Like we're this is all in the same year. So this is 2014. So you had a 13-year-old girl in Ohio. She was wearing a white mask and waiting for her mom in the kitchen with a knife. And then the mother said that her daughter was acting like a completely different person, but she too mom had minor injuries. And this girl was particularly obsessed with Slender Man. Like, she even made like a whole world for Slender Man in her Minecraft game. And she said that she had attacked her mom to please Slender Man. And then again in 2014, that same year, another girl, 14-year-old girl, set her house on fire to appease Slender Man. Her family survived, but the house was completely destroyed. Yeah. So,
Well, was
yeah.
2014 like the height of Slender Man, that these children were looking on the net and it was just inundated wherever they were looking, or what do you think might have caused all this?
I think because this would have been about the time that creepypasta was really at its peak of popularity, and I
Okay.
think there had been enough separation from the original story to where if you were to look on creepypasta and you're 12, 13 years old and you don't know any better and you're reading all of these stories about Slender Man and you're not realizing that it's all fiction, I think the source of Slender Man got really distanced from creepypasta, and I think that's where we have the impressionable. I mean, we're talking like 12, 13, 14-year-old girls.
Yeah, so very suggestible. Well, yeah, very suggestible. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and given all of the list of the characters of creepypastas, I mean, and I've read some of them. I mean, they really kind of make it look like it's happening to them, like yesterday, which is kind of really scary.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And on YouTube, and you look at it, it's like, well, I had a Slenderman viewing today, and here it is, and you got them making stuff up, or on computer, or realistically. And if you're that age, I guess you kind of get freaked out. It's been a long time since I've been that age, so kind of hard to put my head in it, but I can kind of see how they would freak out.
Yeah. Well, and when I was 14 years old, yeah, I'll say 14, was right about when Ghost Hunters came out for the first time. And I watched that show and I was
old. You're making me feel real old. You were 14 when Ghost Hunters came out. I'm gonna hang my hat up now, Alex.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. I will not call you ever again now.
But I also had like Scariest Places on Earth. I was growing up with those shows, and they freaked me out. Like, they really freaked me out. And of course, looking back now, I'm just like, oh, good Lord, it's all dramatics. But back then I didn't know that. And it's, when you're that age, and especially with the internet, and I guess you could say it's still in its infancy stages with our awareness of, knowing what's real and what's not. I mean, well, let's be fair, not a lot of people know what's real and what's not even today. But people didn't realize.
And that's at a lot of ages too.
Yeah. Right. So I think, when it comes, and so in 2009, I think if it was like the start of, oh, this is another thing that we could do with the internet, and really share our stories. But then, like I said, the source material of Slenderman was separated or far enough away from the stories and such that you could read that and be like, oh my God, like what? So I don't know.
So I was curious, when did the movie come out? And I believe it was just called Slenderman, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes.
Did the movie being released make a spike in Slenderman crimes by any chance?
Well, let's see. Slenderman the movie came out after the stabbing, the one with Denisa Weir and Morgan Geyser. So that would have been, because I think
18 or 19.
Yeah, I want to say I think it was 2018. Yeah. So I want to think, because I honestly
don't forget the documentary too.
Oh yeah, the documentary. Gosh.
Wait, there was a documentary?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. I had never even heard about that one.
Yeah, it's on Hulu, by the way. If anybody wants to watch it, I think it's on Hulu.
Oh, yeah, I might have to check that out tonight.
That one
it's about the murders.
Yeah. I think that one came out in 2016, 2017. Yeah, and that one was really focused on the stabbing.
Stabbing, excuse me, it's not murder, stabbings.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the documentary describes it as a murder, and I'm like, she didn't die. Attempted murder.
Another creepypasta might be starting.
I was going to say, although she's real lucky she didn't die.
Yes, she is.
Being stabbed 19 times, and her organ and her organ, her stomach and her liver did get hit a few times. So it's incredible.
Strong girl.
Didn't they both run away from that, and she was actually found by herself?
Yes, I think she actually made her way out to the road.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she actually
made her kid.
Oh my gosh, I'm sitting here like, girl. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure she had managed to get herself out to the main road, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. Because I just had this vision of like seeing like this bloodied girl like coming out of the woods, and oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, poor thing.
And that's how most horror movies start.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
I can hear it now. Dude, don't stop, man. We saw that movie yesterday.
God.
Oh my gosh. Kind of makes you wonder, like, how many times does that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
It's
crazy.
a really screwed up version of Children of the Corn, man. Run, run.
Dude, oh my gosh, so true. See,
I'll
that's the
shut up.
California
I'll
coming
put
out.
myself on
The
mute.
dude. Um, so whether the movie like created a spike in Slenderman sightings, I actually don't know the answer to that. I did kind of keep an eye out with like Google News alerts just to see like, does this inspire more? I didn't really see anything alarming because I think at that point, thanks to, media and stuff, I think when people did look at, because I mean, if I see something creepy in a movie, the first thing I'm going to after is Google. And I feel like the media, with all of its flaws that it has, did do good with, oh, this is based on this, on these, really it was like this, on these teenage girls who did this terrible thing, and here's all the origin story with that character. Now, I mean, it's like every time a new movie comes out on BuzzFeed, it's like, or in the movie theaters, BuzzFeed is like, oh, here's the true story behind X, Y, and Z. So with the information we have available today, I feel like that might be dispelling some of those possibilities now.
Right.
So, but that's a good question. I didn't really see any spikes in reports, but also it's hard to differentiate because I know the movie did inspire a whole new slew of stories. So it was like, oh, are these true? Are these not? Do they think it's true?
Yeah. So you're talking about like creepypasta stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this time it's bleeding into like Facebook and Twitter and Reddit and fan fiction. I think it's fanfiction.net. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that kind of surprised me while doing the research was it seems like a lot of people are actually starting to believe that Slender Man is real.
Mm.
And it's one of those things where, if you kind of look back at where it originated, it's like, well, how can you all of a sudden believe that, this is a real entity? I really don't get it.
Yeah, this one kind of drives me nuts. Because I did write a blog and I did a video about Slender Man, basically just like the origins of Slender Man, where Slender Man came from. I also wrote about Slender Man quite a bit when the movie came out for my former job. Did a lot of like top 10 videos about Slender Man, and so I was like constantly reading the comments. And back then, I mean, we had people believing that Slender Man could possibly be real. And I remembered I specifically wrote in the script, like we had to write disclaimers saying, hey, this is fiction because, we don't want to get sued. And so back then I'm like, okay, well, maybe people just don't know any better. But then I posted my blog and my video like a couple months ago, and I had people writing me saying like, oh, Slender Man is real, and here's like his story. And then I end up sending them my sources, and I'm like, hey, you might need to reconsider that because this is where Slender Man actually came from. So please, like, please, just do a little bit of, research. Yeah. Like,
Well,
it's
when I first heard about Slender Man, this was quite a few years ago. I actually thought that he was a mythical creature. I didn't realize that he was created as recently as he was. And since then, it's kind of surprised me that he actually is a fairly recent character. Anyway, we have to take another station identification break, but when we come back, we will continue talking with Alex Matsuo about the character Slenderman.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello, I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
And welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB out of Birmingham, Alabama. If you haven't already joined the chat room, please go to WBHM-DB.com. And if you have any questions for our hosts or guests that you'd like to call in, area code 205-533-7982. And we are back with Alex Matsuo. And when we left, we were talking about vegetable soup. And
can I insert this real quick? The documentary is called "Beware the Slenderman," and it's on HBO. If you want to watch the documentary on the stabbings.
Cool. And you said HBO.
HBO.
Okay.
Yeah. Beware the Slenderman.
So, vegetable soup. Do you guys like vegetable soup?
I'm almost scared to answer you.
I'm just curious. Yes
Okay.
or no?
Yes.
I am almost exclusively a carnivore.
Yes. She's a hunter, so don't come back to Texas, Brian.
Okay. Now, if you haven't tried it yet, vegetable alphabet soup is the best. Okay? But it has to be alphabet soup. All right? Now, if you add, I'm not kidding, if you add a little bit of laxative to it, you get a really interesting flavor, and it's something that I call let her rip. So you might want to give it a try.
Oh, Alex, please don't think that we're all like this, and hopefully you'll come back on.
I don't what?
Good.
I can hear it. She's contemplating, Brian. You've lost the guest.
She hasn't hung up yet.
I'm still here.
No. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, that was a groaner. That was pretty bad. That was. And you were and again, you worked a week on that one, and that's what scares me.
There is nothing wrong with cooking tips. I'm serious. Nothing wrong with cooking tips at all.
Can I bring Angie on?
Why?
Because I'm done with you.
I knew it was just a matter of time. I knew he would take himself out.
No, I'm not. All right, Pete, what'd you do? My computer just froze. What did you do?
I telekinesis.
You did it on purpose.
I was telekinesis.
Okay.
Is it time to talk with Angie yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
But
okay.
Soon. Very soon. Okay.
So how are you doing, Alex?
Doing good. How are you doing?
You doing good through halftime so far?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Cool. All right.
Okay, good.
Okay, Brian, you
What?
got your game on? You got your game face? Let's go.
Oh, okay. So getting back to Slenderman, he seems to try and drive people insane. We talked about that earlier. He seems to like to invoke fear, terror in his victims over a long period of time. And you had kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but do you think that the creature of Slenderman likes to feed off of human fear?
I think so. I think that's just another energy source that he can feed on and feast on in the meantime before he goes in for the kill, so to speak.
Yeah, because it just, I keep trying to figure out, we talked about it, is why this change over a period of time. And that was one of the things that I was kind of wondering. And some believe that Slenderman actually comes from and possibly even exists even while here in a different plane, a fourth dimension, if you will. Where did this theory come from, and could it explain some of his inherent abilities?
You know what? That's a great question. It doesn't take a lot to puzzle me, but maybe. It's, and gosh, it really depends on the storyteller too, because I mean, gosh, there's so many with Slenderman. So, yeah, that's a tough one. I'll have to ponder over that one.
Yeah, because if I remember right, like some of his original abilities were selective invisibility, being able to change his height, his shape, turn his arms into tentacles, and I believe you even mentioned that he could sprout tentacles from his back. How long of now? It seems like the tentacles itself coming out of his back. That's probably one of the original abilities that he had. What about the other ones? Have they developed over time, or are these all just sort of some original things of his?
So so we would have to go back to Eric Knudson's original what we say original incarnation of Slenderman. So I think because he mentioned Lovecraft was very much an inspiration, as well as like the Mist being one of his main inspirations too. So I really think it just kind of just the development over time. I mean, Eric Knudson's pen name or online name persona is Victor Surge, and there was this thing called this trend called it's a minority group in the mythos that's called Surgism, which is interesting. So if you're a Surgist, so a surge is basically, I think it might even be attributed to the creators of Slenderman, like the people who keep contributing to his lore. So there's a lot of what we call Slender blogs out there, but surgists really don't like Slender blogs. It's almost like this purist perspective of Slenderman, which is kind of weird because there's not a lot of there's nothing really official with Slenderman, but they're kind of purist when it comes to the original mythos. So so very much the tentacles coming out of his back, the tall persona, that was kind of just the beginnings of Slenderman. So what the Surgists really wholeheartedly believe in, and then of course the other variations have just kind of come up from over time from the different people who have contributed to Slenderman's story. Yeah.
Do we know how Slenderman chooses his victims?
That's you know what? For a while there was the trend of Slenderman really focusing on like preteen and teenage girls. Um, for whatever reason, but of course the subsequent stabbings and murders didn't help with that. If anything, it just kind of confirmed that a bit. Yeah, I haven't really seen anything with Slenderman targeting other demographics. It always seemed to be like teenagers, and that just reminds me of like, you know, our favorite classic movie monsters, you know, Freddy Krueger, Jason, you know, just targeting the teenagers. So specifically in this case, teenage girls and children.
Do you have in your research? Do you know why Newts? It's Knudsen, correct?
Yeah, Knudsen or Knudsen. Yeah, it's Knudsen.
Okay. Do you know why he even created this, or was it just to create a character, or was there something? I'm not saying it was devious. I didn't know what was in his head when he did it. Not that, like, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. I just didn't know why he created him.
Yeah. So something awful. One could say something awful could be another troll forum, kind of like Reddit. But something awful basically did this contest, which really was just Knudsen's motivation. I don't even know like how much thought he really put into it. You know, the whole premise of it was you got to make a normal photo look paranormal, and he just took some photos of kids and just slipped Slenderman in there, and it was so good that people said, I mean, it was kind of like a troll attempt on the internet, like, hey, let's put these photos out and let's see what happens. And of course, when you put out photos like that of Slenderman with no context, especially in 2009, people are going to get freaked out. People are going to freak out and wonder what it is. Yeah, I mean, besides that, Victor, I mean, he has Victor Surge too, but Knudsen's pretty normal. He lives in Florida. He's got a family. He's just this normal, like, you know, work a day job guy. So I don't know if he had anything like sinister or, you know, I don't think he had ill intentions. Honestly, I think he just wanted to participate in the contest, and then it just took off from there from everyone else that was enjoying the content.
So you said it was a contest. First of all, did he win the contest? And if he did, what did he get? Besides famous for the Slenderman.
Yeah, which he's not like super he's not like super excited about that. You know, I don't know if he won actually. They never really elaborated on that, come to think of it. Now, he was one of the first people to start like contributing to the mythos of Slenderman. I don't know like how super involved he was about it though. There was some video series of Slenderman. I'm trying to remember them off the top of my head. Dark Harvest, Tribe 12. I'm trying to remember what the other three were. But yeah, I don't think he won the contest. I'm pretty sure I don't think he did. I don't even know what the prize was.
One Marble Hornets?
Yes. Yeah.
Marble Hornets? I thought so. Yeah. That's on Yahoo. YouTube.
Marble what?
Marble Hornets. It's a serial that was done on YouTube. It talks about Slenderman, and I think there's a gentleman that always sees him and stuff happens to him when he sees him or something along those lines. And they've done quite a few of them. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Alex. It just popped in my head. So
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of things pop in Pete's head, and it really kind of scares us generally when they do. So just be aware of that. Anyway,
It's the voices that usually scare me, Alex.
Yeah, all 12 of them.
Yeah, when they start arguing and I lose, that's the worst.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have got to get to our Weird World News segment. So, Pete, would you like to do the honors?
No, I don't. I don't even want to talk about it. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay, cool.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hold on a minute, Pete.
Angie.
I forgot. Pete, I'm sorry. I forgot we have to take a station break first.
Oh, okay. I'll wind it back and let it rip later.
Let her rip. Hey, see, already I got it. Sorry. Okay, so we're gonna go to a station break, and then we'll be right back with our Weird World News.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay, Pete, would you like to now do the honors?
Ladies and gentlemen, from the sunny state of Texas, where there is no cold at 43 degrees, it's Angie Mole in the Weird World News.
Thank you, Pete. It's 46 where I'm at, but okay.
Okay.
All right.
Corrected.
By the way, you guys want to know how warm it is here in California?
Not really.
It's warm and toasty.
Yeah, because you're all nothing. Okay, so let's start off with some ancient information. Several years ago, archaeologists found an Aztec tower made of human skulls at one of the religious sites near Templo Mayor. It was initially believed to be a monument made from the bones of defeated warriors, but as they uncovered more sections of the tower, they found skulls they thought might have been women and children.
Oh, wow.
So they altered their hypothesis to say that the tower was constructed of people sacrificed during the reign of the 8th king of the Aztecs.
Oh, wow.
A few days ago, another section of tower was unearthed, made of 119 human skulls. Now, I think I didn't write it down, but I think it was like 660 something total at this point.
More than six.
So the towers themselves were constructed with the skulls
and lime and mud. Yes.
Wow. So they were actual constructs.
Yes.
That's interesting.
And I believe there were 2 concentric circles as well. Like, it was really hard for me to understand how they were trying to describe it. I don't know why they didn't just like draw a stupid diagram or something, but they were trying to explain what it looked like in words, and for journalists, they weren't very communicative. So I don't know.
So what was the consensus that they thought it was for?
Well, so they have decided that they do have skulls of children included. So they are reinforcing the idea that it's the remains of sacrificed people. The monument was built in 3 stages, and while many people would find it to be horrific, the ancients believed they were building a temple to help keep the gods alive and prevent the destruction of the universe.
Okay.
Or at least that's how someone's interpreted it.
So basically, it was a sacrifice, and then the sacrifice was extended to the temples, all to appease certain gods.
Yeah, and this occurred over, I believe it was about 20 years, but it was kind of hard also to understand when it started. It looked to me, based on, because I had to get this from like three different articles, but they were talking about how the Templo Mayor that was there initially became ruins, I think, and then this was built on top of that, and it was during this 8th king during his reign that this was built. And it took place over a couple of different decades.
And where exactly was this?
I'm not even about to try to pronounce that.
One of those places.
Yeah. I mean, I'm working on my Spanish, but I'm not there yet.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I'm sure most of y'all have heard about this by now, but the Zodiac Killer's last remaining message, known as Z340, was finally solved by an international trio, aided by a custom app developed for cracking codes. The letter was sent to the San Francisco Chronicle in November of 1969, and its contents has remained a mystery until now. The three men from Virginia, Belgium, and Australia have been working since 2006 to figure out the message included in the transposition style of cipher. The text of the letter says, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me where everyone else has nothing. When they reach paradise, so they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise death." Now, there's no punctuation in a cipher, so I have no idea really where I should have been putting sentence breaks. But part of the reason the Zodiac's puzzles were difficult to solve was because the fool couldn't spell. So it took people a while to figure out that there were words he consistently misspelled, and then how to try to apply that to an unknown code. So it took a while. But during the time period of the 5 murders and 2 attempted murders, the Zodiac Killer sent media outlets a series of letters taking credit for it. To prove that he was the killer, the letters included unreleased details and evidence. The identity of the Zodiac Killer, who terrorized Northern California in 1968 and 69, is still unknown, and the FBI considers it an active case.
Well, the television show that he is talking about was a show that was in San Francisco that it had to do with a psychologist or psychiatrist, and he called in and he was talking about how he had headaches and he was just going on, and I think he also contacted that psychiatrist on a couple of other different occasions, not on TV, but personally.
Yeah, there was someone who was an imposter who was claiming to be that person.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Okay, so
Angie, at the beginning, did you say that the last of his codes?
The last one that no one had figured out yet.
I think there's a couple more codes.
Well, so what I'm so each one that he sent that was coded was formed of a different code. Am I getting that right?
Yes.
Okay.
They're all, in my understanding is that they are all versions of something called a transposition.
What is that? If I'm not really sure what that is.
Okay. Think about, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. Kind of like if you had 3 peanuts underneath 3 different cups and you tried to play the 3-card Monte game with it.
Right.
So instead of having, where it would be like a direct, like switching, so like A would equal G and B would equal H. Instead of something like that, it would be more like there are chunks of like 3 things at once or 5 things at once. And I mean, they tried to explain how in this particular case, the way that it had.
You're saying there's more than one code in each one.
I mean, yeah, kind of, if you want to look at it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I know the
this
first
one
code that
had
was
something
broken
to do.
I was going to say, I know the first code was broken by a couple of teachers, I believe. That was the one about the kiddies bouncing out of the bus and stuff.
And I did just read all of it, and it's like I only have room for so much in my head. But,
Oh.
but yeah, this one in particular, I did pay attention to, and they were talking about how the style and like the shape and the order, like you would have to take a snapshot of it because the order and the form of it mattered. And something about triangles and moving triangles of letters around. It was, I don't know how that, well, now I understand why it took 51 years to figure it out.
Right.
And this was the last code, the last one that they needed to break.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And the FBI released a statement saying that they were aware that private citizens had cracked it, but they weren't going to comment. So,
in other words, they were jealous.
Well, I guess, maybe they could be, because the one of the guys who cracked it developed the software that cracked it.
Oh,
So
that was on a documentary that I saw. They were talking about but they were running a supercomputer on all of the codings.
Yeah, he's a software developer, and they gave the name, I can't remember what it was called. But yeah, he was one of the developers of the app that actually solved it. So kind of cool.
Yeah.
The infamous Cecil Hotel in downtown LA is due for another upgrade. The developer, who is currently working on the cursed hotel, has received yet another loan to continue work on the 16-story building. The hotel was supposedly the inspiration for, I think it was the 5th season of American Horror Story, due to its sordid history. Serial killers Richard Ramirez and Jack Unterweger both stayed there in the 80s and 90s. Decades
and there were
later,
a lot of suicides too.
Yeah. And decades later, a Canadian tourist was found drowned in the rooftop water storage tank. The hotel has gone through a few different plans as of late, for which funding has fallen through. Now the developer is working on exactly what the best uses for the hotel will be, and expects to have a strategy later in the year. Built in 1924, the hotel received a historical designation in 2017, and it has not been it has not been called the Cecil for almost a decade. It's now called Stay on Main, but much like its bad reputation, some things persist.
Yeah. I've actually been to the Cecil about 6-7 times, and not to stay. There is no way in hell that you will get me to stay there.
I've been told that's not something you really want to do.
No. I mean, it's if you go into the lobby's kind of cool, but they really did not keep it up.
I heard the inside was a dumpster fire pretty much in the rooms.
Yeah, it really is. But
is the neighborhood still really bad too?
I wouldn't say it's really bad, but I wouldn't say it's a good neighborhood either.
Well, they probably vacuumed the floors and called it Stay on the Main.
Yeah, but what I got a kick out of is every time I've gone there, and Pete, you know me, I have no problem talking to people. I mean, I would literally chat everybody up there, and not.
Yeah, I know. I'd have to probably pull you out.
Not one single person, maids, valets, nobody will say anything about it being haunted. Most of them say, no, it's just a weird place. But no, we've never seen a ghost. No, we've never heard a ghost. And yet it persists that this place is just extremely haunted. And I cannot find anybody that works there to say that it's haunted.
Well, they probably
I've never seen or read anything to claim that it would be. I mean, have you seen any stories?
Well, there was a story that Zach Baggins has been steadily nailing on him to try to get in there for his show. So either it has the potential or it's spooky enough to put on the show. I'm not a big fan. That's an open thing, but
Pete,
It is what it is.
Pete.
Yes.
They actually.
I know. Shut up and put it on mute, right?
No, the Ghost Adventures crew just did a show. It was an internet show or a streaming for Discovery Channel or something like that, and they were actually in the Cecil Hotel.
The money must have been good.
Yeah, well, a couple friends of mine were part of it, and I wanted to say something because now it's the most haunted place on the planet with demons in every room, and just one of those things where I was just kind of like, nope, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. But
have they checked out yet?
Demons check in, but they never check out.
Well, I was going to say, I think Zach checked out years ago, but no one's perfect. So.
Well, to round this out, let's get everybody laughing. Well, maybe not everybody laughing. Well, I really have a bad sense of humor too, so that may just be me laughing.
I know you do because you don't even laugh at my jokes. Jeez.
Okay, we've been over this. By definition, a joke must have humor.
At least a punchline.
Do not.
You're just mean. You're all just mean to me.
Hey, this is on air. You can imagine what we say off of air.
You know what? I don't even want to know.
Oh, well, no, we got it on transcript.
We say it to your face.
Afterwards. Yeah. We say it behind. We
don't hide it from you, hon.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord. Continue, Angie. Continue.
The Civil Aviation Administration of China is recommending that flight crews wear diapers to avoid using the bathrooms during flights.
Oh my God.
The exact wording in the CAAC's technical guidelines for epidemic prevention and control for airlines, 6th edition, says it is recommended that cabin crew members wear disposable diapers and avoid using the lavatories barring special circumstances to avoid infection risks.
Wait a second. It's not okay to take 5 minutes to go to the lavatory, but it's okay to sit next to the pilot and blow him out. That's okay.
I don't write. I don't write the rules. I just report on them.
Oh God, please, yeah, Scotty, take me up. I'm done with Earth. I'm done. Go ahead.
There are other guidelines for wearing. I mean, this is the ultimate when it comes to PPE, though, right? Okay, hold on. I didn't think this through. There are so many jokes I could have shoved in right there.
Now, Angie, when you say PPE, you're talking about PP equipment, right?
Sure.
Personal P equipment, right?
Alex, again, I apologize. Go ahead.
But the ones that they discuss, all the rest of their measures are ones that we're all well acquainted with. But the disposable diapers is a new one for me. So,
yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been Angie Moley and the worldwide whatever. No.
Okay. Pete's lost it.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm actually done, so you're good. Except it's weird world news. And,
there you go.
Yeah.
Weird world news.
And it's weird world news where? Angie?
World news. It's in the name. On WBHM-DB, Birmingham, Alabama.
See,
there you go.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you, Angie. It was
You're welcome.
Thank you, Angie.
Interesting as usual. And I'm sorry, but on that last story, I just wanted to mumble "let her rip" again, but I wasn't going to.
Hey,
I am so ready to talk that.
It would have been the best time for you to let loose with a poop joke, but timing isn't fantastic, so it's okay.
But I usually have good timing.
I am so ready to talk to Alex again.
Alex hasn't left? I'm surprised. I thought she would have bailed by now.
I was really, really scared. So I thought if I re-mentioned her name, I could at least get a breath or something to let us know that we still had her on the other end.
Well, I'm still here. Went and got a snack and just listening and listening.
Oh.
I don't know how to take that, Alex.
She was probably listening and thinking to herself, okay, now how can I get out of here and make it look like it was a mistake?
Yeah, I signed up for this. What the heck was I thinking?
Anyway, so unfortunately that took us to a station identification break. So we'll be back with Alex Matsuo as soon as we finish with... Oh, okay, good. We can go ahead. Excellent. That's our
Thank
producer.
you, Kat. That's our producer, Kat.
God speaking. Kat. Thank you, Kat.
That just proves he doesn't listen to me.
Yeah.
Did you hear something? What was that?
That was one of my voices escaping again. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
And Kat, by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in.
Absolutely. Okay, so we had kind of touched on it when we left for the Weird World News, and we were talking about if the Slenderman victims had anything in common. And one of the things I was curious about, and I don't know whether you've come across this in your research, but does it seem like the victims, other than mainly being younger, shall we say, even though he has been known to go after adults, does it seem like they might have things in common, such as blonde hair, pigeon-toed, maybe as far as being adults, maybe they all have beards? Has any of that come to light in any of the mythos?
That's a great question. So I didn't really find a lot of common things between all the victims besides the fact that they all seem to have some sort of mental illness. So I don't know if maybe it's part of the mythos is that, maybe someone who's already psychologically compromised, which would be interesting to consider. But also it's like, crap. Yeah, so I haven't really noticed anything else though.
So you had said that they all seem to have mental illness. Now is that the in the mythos, or is that the real life people who believe that Slenderman exists?
I've seen it in both. I think the newer mythos with the mental illness was probably inspired by the stabbings, stabbing, house burning down, that whole thing. So really, it just depends on the storytellers, where you see the source material coming from. So yeah, Slenderman's canon's kind of all over the place with that.
So here's something that's kind of interesting, and I'm wondering how they connect. The mythos developed, as we were talking about, from 2009 all the way up through today, where his change kind of led him to now try and make people go insane or to have mental illness. Now, do you think that the mythos of mental illness could have caused these people to have mental illness, or do you think the mental illness is what gave people the thought of making Slenderman be able to cause mental illness? Did I say that right?
It's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think in this case the mental illness was already there, and then it turned into Slenderman exploiting that, so to speak, and then things taking off from there. So that's the impression I get, at least from like the stories that I've read. that people have written. Usually there's some sort of, even if it's not just blatantly like, oh, it's mental illness, they're psychologically compromised in some sort of way, like they've been through some sort of trauma that they're still sorting through. Yeah.
So one of the things within the mythos is that people who have God, it must be getting late. People who have seen Slenderman all seem to have trouble describing exactly what he looks like. Some in the telling actually seem as if they're mesmerized, or confused when they're trying to tell people what he looks like. It's almost as if they can't remember the details, only the periphery description of him. Where did this come from? Do you know?
I think I'm trying to remember what there was a movie that had come out around the time that story came out, that particular mythos was out. It wasn't Viewpoint. Shoot. I feel like that was inspired by a more popular movie, so to speak. So just can't remember what the movie was called off the top of my head. But yeah, so I think that really plays off of eyewitness testimonies, how it's all sort of flawed, so to speak. Yeah, with in the case of Slenderman, I mean, with that whole thing of, I think it just goes back to being psychologically affected.
Right.
So like Slenderman like distorts memory, so to speak, whether it's like a mind game or a method of self-preservation. Yeah, that one's a bit interesting, but I do feel like that was inspired by I'm pretty sure that was inspired by a movie, because there was something that had come out at least around that time, for what I could remember, that was a little bit similar.
So it's a fairly new thing about Slenderman.
I would say in the last 5 years ish, new.
Okay.
I got something for you. Something you probably I'm sure
Run,
you probably
Alex,
already know.
run.
No. Now we've been talking about Slenderman, and I know that there's a lot of other creepypastas out there, like Momo and was it John the Caver or something like that. And who was that other one of the guy that was supposedly like a creeper that went into people's houses? I can't think of the name at the moment. Something. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name either, but oh, Momo.
So yeah, Momo. I mean, yeah, that wasn't that a didn't either somebody made a statue of that, or it was a creepypasta, or kind of a little bit of both?
So the statue was an art display that predates Momo.
Okay.
I actually did a video on this for The Richest, the YouTube channel.
Okay.
It was created by a Japanese artist named Keisuke. Oh my gosh, what was her name? Their name, Keisuke Iso. Yeah. So the original art is like bird. It was called like Bird Mother or Mama Bird.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy looking.
It is.
Yeah.
So basically what happened was that image somehow got associated with the Momo challenge. And again, because Momo, so not Momo, but the statue itself was on exhibit in 2016 in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
And then
didn't they create an app or something that people were calling and they got a call back or something? And supposedly they were
basically the Momo challenge. So people were on WeChat. I think it was WeChat. Yes, it was WeChat. I'm trying.
Okay.
Yeah. it's on one of those international calling things, but basically, Momo, I don't know if it was a bot, was contacting, people on the app, and
Mhm.
I don't think I use so many different international things. It was WhatsApp. It was happening on
It's
WhatsApp.
understandable. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, so it wasn't like Momo was the app. Momo was using the app.
Okay.
And again, targeting kids, targeting
Yeah.
middle schoolers, elementary, um, really kids who had mobile phones that really shouldn't be having mobile phones.
Right.
Yeah, so that whole thing was definitely internet born. And then, of course, creepypasta took that concept and ran with it with its own like lore of itself.
Mhm.
Yeah, but some people are saying that Momo was never real, that it was just like urban legends. But I actually knew parents who did have their kids were contacted by a Momo type account. Um,
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that was like Momo itself or just a bunch of trolls who were inspired by Momo to spread
Okay.
the joy, so to speak.
Right.
What or who exactly is Momo?
Momo was like the statue made made Momo
The,
seem
yeah.
like this
Yeah.
supernatural being, but Momo was literally like this mysterious uh thing. But like I said, people insist on that it was a hoax. Really like a masked user, so to speak. The hoax was really or the whole story was supposed to be like it's a supernatural being using technology to kill our children. But
Okay.
yeah, Momo was
Another
like
good positive one.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But really, um, Momo was just I would say if we did have to put like an identity to it, just like a mass troll type of person.
Okay. And what about was it Something the Killer? Is that the one that people have been seeing? It's like faces in their windows and stuff like that. Can't
Mm.
remember. I can't remember. I can't remember the first name, but it was Something the Killer.
I'm trying to remember. Because there's quite a few.
Kind of like that.
There's
Yeah.
quite a few.
Well, he had.
There's
I think they had their eyes like were like real big and had a really wicked grin.
let's see, the
That's not helping.
face window. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Because there's an urban legend similar to that comes from Japan that at least I was told when I was a kid.
Okay.
Not really an urban legend, but something like you need to leave your blinds closed because there's this man that creeps around the neighborhood and peeks into you with his big eyes and watches you, and it's just that whole thing. uh,
Sort of like the boogeyman.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, getting back to Slenderman, there have been stories that have come out that Slenderman can control people's minds. Many stories revolve around this creature preying on children, naturally. Could this new mythos have anything to do with the fact that children, when trying to tell a story, have a tendency to change their stories, or what I always called the dreaded "I don't know" answer? Do you think that this whole mind control thing could derive from that?
That's an interesting thought. I haven't really thought much about that before. I kind of feel like when it comes to Slenderman's whole mythos, I feel like a lot of times, these writers are throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks.
Right.
To see what sticks and what catches on. That one's interesting. I hadn't really thought much about that one.
I remember the name now. It's Jeff the Killer.
Jeff the Killer. Oh.
Who is Jeff the Killer?
My name's Jeff. Sorry, I was thinking.
Pete, who is
Yes.
Jeff the Killer?
It was kind of what I was trying to describe earlier. It's this really weird looking thing. He's got a really big grin on his face, really big eyes, and supposedly, um, kids have said that they've seen him in windows and looking in windows and stuff like that. Supposedly, if I think I could be getting it all wrong. But if you see him, he supposedly is going to come after you or something, like most of these things do. But he's really creepy looking. He's been around for a little while.
It sounded like you described Smeagol.
You know what? It could be a cartoon version of Smeagol. And there was also Ted the Caver, if you ever heard of him.
What's his thing?
I saw a story about him, and it was something about two guys had gone down in a cave, and there was a hole in the cave, and one of them was going through and actually saw somebody looking back at him, but there was no way to get into it, and that was, I don't know. That's all I know.
That reminded me of something when Terry and I were on the way back from the Jefferson event, and one of the things I wanted to do, and it was the one thing I wanted to do the most, was stop at the Apache Death Cave. Have you guys heard of that? It's in Arizona.
No, I haven't.
I can't remember the name of the. It's at by an old tourist town that no longer exists, but back in the day, I guess the Navajo had cornered Apache raiders in this cave, and what they did is there was only one way in and out, and they burned the entrance, which killed everybody that was in, all of the Apaches that were inside the cave, and now it's supposedly haunted, cursed, and everything else. And this was something I really wanted to do, and they're heading west. There is only one exit, which just happened to be completely closed because they were doing construction, and the only way to get back to this cave is to have gone about another 30 miles west, get off the freeway, get back on, and go another 30 miles. So it would have been like 60 miles out of. I don't know why I just brought that up, but when you said that about the cave thing, it just reminded me, and I don't think I ever mentioned that. It was, you want to talk about being bummed out. But if you guys are ever in Arizona and look up the Apache Death Cave, it's right along the 40 freeway there. And from what I hear, it's just a really cool place to investigate. Just bringing it up. Sorry about that. Went off on a little tangent there. So why do you think Slenderman preys mostly on children?
Well, children are impressionable. If we go off the lore, children are more able to see spirits. Their minds are more open to the supernatural, so to speak, and gives Slenderman a gateway, like the key into their brains. Yeah.
It just popped into my head. I wanted to ask you earlier. You had said that Eric Knudsen kind of helped develop the mythos of Slenderman, and I take it this was after it started to become popular. Is that correct?
Yeah. At least on Something Awful, when it was catching on and people wanted to basically do more with it. And yeah, from my understanding, he was more involved in the beginning of it.
When was it that he decided to kind of pull away from it?
I wasn't able to find a specific date tied to it, but I definitely know by the time the first stabbing hit the media, he definitely had separated himself by then.
Now, was the first stabbing, was that the two girls who stabbed their friend 19 times?
I believe so, yeah.
And were there more after that? How many stabbings have there been that they've tried to blame Slenderman?
So there was only one other, and that was the girl in Ohio that I had mentioned earlier, the 12-year-old or 13-year-old girl. And then there was the other one with the 14-year-old girl who had burned her house down.
Yeah, the burning of the house down. One of the myths that I found that kind of surrounds Slenderman, and this is another one that kind of goes back to his supposed genesis in the 1600s, was that he would burn down buildings to kill his victims. And like I said, he's supposedly been doing this since the 1600s. And here's something that I actually thought was kind of interesting. Somebody had made a reference that he was actually responsible for the Great Chicago Fire. Had you ever heard about any of that?
I thought that was Miss O'Leary's cow.
That's what I always thought, but there's a story going around now that it was Slenderman trying to kill one of his victims.
No, I did not hear about that one.
No? Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. But had you heard anything about his burning down houses, buildings to get after his victims?
Well, let me add to that real quick. You had also mentioned about the 13 or 14-year-old that also burned her house down. So, is there a tie in there as well?
You know, I don't know. That one, yeah. So basically, from what I understand, the girl had looked at creepypasta and souleater.com. Souleater.com is another website that had Slenderman stories. And so the girl told the cops that she and her friend were trying to become proxies for Slenderman. So take that with a grain of salt, So which means they wanted to be under the control of Slenderman. So in that case, it wouldn't be like Slenderman trying to take out his victims, but
I was asking more about the fire, since there's it looks like there's a tie with fire. I didn't know.
I don't know if that had actually been out back in 20. Well, we would have to look at the dates to see what came first, because I know the fire happened in September 2014. So we would have to see when that lore with Slenderman became public to see if maybe was she reacting to that story, or did that story come out afterwards? Did the fire inspire that lore?
Yeah, I mean,
well, fire is usually purification. So, do you think that Slenderman, if he was trying to take out one of his one of the children, you think that it might have been a purification thing?
Well, from my understanding, so the girl who burned her house down, nobody in her family was home at the time.
Okay.
So, and basically how her mom found out was she texted her mom saying, "Sorry, I burned the house down."
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah. So that one's a little interesting because there wasn't an attempted murder or anything like that. It was no one's home. I'm going to do this. Sorry.
Okay. So do you think there's a possibility of her accidentally starting the fire and just using Slenderman as an excuse?
Oh, I totally. Especially since so this was, I think the fire did happen after the big stabbing, and it also happened after the other stabbing. So I think totally at the time I could see it. I could see it as, it's because of Slenderman.
Yeah, well, it's easy to blame the devil when you don't want to take responsibility for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm kind of formulating in my head how I can start using him as an excuse for the things I do, but I'll get to it sooner or later. Anyway, on that, we have to get to a station break, but when we come back, we will continue speaking with Alex Matsuo about the Slenderman myths.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting,
the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
This is Jason Bland, host of Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we stream live as a webcast every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, with guests who will blow your mind. Live ghost box sessions where you can call into the show to see if the spirits will talk to you, and the world wide web of weird with the latest in paranormal news and evidence. We're bringing the weird every Sunday night, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow and subscribe.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
And welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB out of Birmingham, Alabama. If you haven't already joined the chat room, there's still time. Go to WBHM-DB.com. And if you want to call in for questions for us or our guest, it's area code 205-533-7982. And it's weird, during the break, I actually had a craving for SpaghettiOs, which is kind of bizarre because I'm telling you, the last time I ate SpaghettiOs, I could have sworn they were haunted. The reason being is I looked down at the bowl and it just kept looking at me and going, oh.
Oh, man.
Hey, now, I'm sorry, but you can blame my son for that one.
Your son had nothing to do with that. That's one of yours.
No. Actually, that is not. He was telling me that one right as I was leaving the house. I'm like, wait, really? And then I thought to myself, I am so proud.
Which son?
My oldest.
He doesn't want his name mentioned. Okay. Well,
would you?
Not really, but we're advertised, so you know.
Well, yeah, you know, there is that. Okay. So,
hey, Brian,
yes?
Kick it back into play.
Okay, Pete, I will do that. All right. So, one of the myths surrounding Slenderman has to do with him having weird things happen to electronic devices. Mm-hmm. Some say that it's a good way to tell if Slenderman is nearby, if your radios, TVs, cameras, and things like that just automatically stop working. Mm-hmm. Videos and digital photos seem to always end up being blurred. And it's also said that things like microwave emitters, cell towers, and even different weather patterns can actually make Slenderman weaker. Do you have any insight into that particular part of the myth?
That one, because I've also seen that electronics can be like Slenderman's kryptonite, or he gets annoyed by them, and like they mess up his vision, or that's like noise. That one, I'm trying to think of other lore where electronics are a thing. Yeah, that one's, I actually don't know where that came from, but I know that is a common thing in like horror lore. Like there's usually some sort of like kryptonite that takes down like the big bad creature. But I've seen people discuss like electricity being that possible vulnerability, because when I read the boards that go over like his different powers and stuff and what his weaknesses are, like fire is his strength, freezing him is like impossible, but he's not affected by like crosses or Bibles because he's not a demon. And I know in other lore or other variations I've seen, he's been able to manipulate electronics. So yeah, I think that just comes from, I'm trying to think. I couldn't even think of. I know there's a creature out there. There's several creatures that are like affected by electronics, but it's late. I can't really think of off the top of my head.
If you hadn't moved to North Carolina, it'd still be early, and you'd be on be on the right coast at the right time. So, yeah, just saying. You had mentioned the word proxy with the 14-year-old who had burned her house down.
Mm-hmm.
I had read, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I had read somewhere that either came from a video game that was based on the Slenderman mythos, or the video game used that part of the Slenderman mythos for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I read a little bit about that actually. Not enough really to like be an expert on it, but yeah, I think it's between that as well as the other movies or little shorts that were made, because I mean there's like a whole list of different proxies, like with Tribe 12. I think there was one for like Everyman Hybrid, so they all have like their little personas and characters, whether it's in the video game or the movie. So yeah, I think a lot of that just came from not just the video game, but from the little horror shorts that were released.
Where were the horror shorts released?
They were released on like YouTube or on creepypasta servers. I think there might have been one on fandom.com, but I know there's definitely a few that live on YouTube.
Okay, so how, I was curious. All right, YouTube, yeah, I know how to get to YouTube and probably just look up Slenderman and they'll all pop up. But as far as creepypasta, do you just go to like creepypasta.com if you want to look up like the Slenderman myths and things like that?
Oh yeah, they have if you go to their website, they have I think like something called Famous Pastas. And you can actually see like their different the different things that they've created. And let's see. Oh yeah, or it's either Famous Creepypasta or Top Ranked. And you can actually see different categories here. Let's see, I'm just kind of browsing it right now. Yeah, I mean they have everything organized and bookmarked really easily, so you can find more information. They've actually really cleaned it up. Wow, looks way different from last time I was on here. So
yeah, nice. And make it easier on me. I'm not exactly completely internet savvy, but we won't tell the public that. Oh, darn it, we just did. Never mind. All right, so there's another myth surrounding Slenderman that says that if you know someone being stalked and you know he's being stalked by Slenderman, that you will then become his next victim, or at least one of his victims somewhere down the line. It's also said that if you happen to be anywhere near someone who is actually at the time being stalked by Slenderman, you yourself will then become one of his prey. Have you heard this this theory or this part of the myth?
Actually, I haven't.
No.
That's new for me.
Oh, interesting.
I also heard something. I also heard something when I was looking some stuff up that some people have even put an alien spin on him, saying that it is an alien that is portraying our fears, and one of them is Slenderman, and this is what people are seeing. Have you heard anything about that?
Oh, I've heard that one. Yeah.
Have you? Okay.
I've heard that from quite a few people. Not really from any stories, but just from random discussions that I've had, or I've read online of people trying to figure out exactly what Slenderman is. And the alien thing is actually fairly strong, because like I mentioned before, like I find it interesting that a lot of people haven't categorized him as a demon and don't want to. I mean, I kind of agree with that, because I think labeling him as a demon would kind of almost take away the mystique and the magic of Slenderman, and what makes Slenderman like so freaking confusing. So
and
yeah,
creepy too. I mean, everybody's got an idea what a demon is, but they don't know what Slenderman is.
yeah, exactly, and it just creates that more disturbing element to it. And I've seen the alien thing thrown around a bit, especially with like the tentacles and the elongated look to him too. You know, it's like an alien in a suit, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's one that may actually, I don't know whether you've heard it, but if you hadn't, it might give you a little bit of pause. This is another part of the mythos. Whether it's new or old, I'm not really sure. Like I said, my delving into Slenderman has just been recent. But it is also said that people who delve too deeply into the Slenderman myth, such as yourself, become his prey as a way for him to remain as secretive as possible. So, have you heard that before? And if so, are you afraid of becoming one of his victims if you continue to do research into him?
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one, because I actually got that as like a warning when I was writing my videos for The Richest.
Did you?
Yeah. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I've heard that it's like a form of like self-preservation, almost like government conspiracies. When you dive in too deep, then they come and take you away. I've also heard that similar with Black-Eyed Kids. Like if you go too deeply into Black-Eyed Kids, like they're going to come for you. And for some reason, that one freaks me out more than Slenderman. So for some reason, I'm not too worried about Slenderman at all. But I don't know,
Yeah.
Black-Eyed Kids, I'm just like, nope. I don't even want to tempt fate with that.
Well, let me ask you this, along the vein of what Brian just mentioned. Since you had been warned, had you had anything happen to you that was strange while you were writing about this? Now, I'm not a big conspiracy person myself, but as people write about different things, some things do happen. So, anything that you might say, well, it could have been a Slenderman, or maybe it was just something. It was a coincidence.
No, not really. I mean, I feel like a lot of that it gets as much power as you give it. So, or as much as you let it have power. So,
yeah.
I don't know. When I decided to take the assignments, I was just like, you know what? It's just a movie. It's just like this. It's just this, mythological urban legend that's been created on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. So I didn't really have anything weird happen. I mean, a part of me was like, okay, well, this is your time to come for me. Like, if this is it, come at me, bro.
It's like, okay, page 1, and then you have your cross sitting next to you.
So, yeah, no, I didn't have anything strange happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? What do you have any things in the works?
Oh, let's see. Well, I mean, my little pandemic project is working on another book. We'll see how it's not moving very fast. That's okay. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm just working on my YouTube channel and getting out content on my blog a couple times a week, and I just want to create a really inclusive and welcoming environment to talk about spooky stuff. That's why I called my brand The Spooky Stuff. And yeah, I mean, and also making videos on TikTok. That's been my thing.
Okay, so since we have just a couple seconds left, why don't you let people know how they can get in touch with you, look at your blog, your YouTube channel, things like that?
Yeah, if you head over to thespookystuff.com, you'll be able to find me there. You can also type in The Spooky Stuff with Alex Matsuo on Facebook, and I have a Facebook group, and come find me there and say hi.
Sounds good. Well, listen, Alex, we're out of time, but I just wanted to say thank you so much. It really kind of opened my eyes to what's going on with Slenderman, and it's just it's one of those things that I'm both kind of freaked out by how people react to it, and fascinated by wanting to kind of delve more into the myth of it. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it too, Alex.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And I'm really go ahead, Pete. No,
I was going to say, hopefully we could have you on again and discuss more of what you write.
Yeah, awesome. Definitely. And I will try and keep Pete from telling so many darn dad jokes.
Yeah, that was me. I'm a ventriloquist over the internet.
All right. Well, listen, that's all the time we have. But I just wanted to thank everybody. And we are going to be off for the next 2 weeks for the holidays. But I want to wish everybody a very happy holiday season, a happy new year. And we will be back January 7th. With Lloyd Auerbach, and we're going to be discussing all kinds of different subjects with Lloyd. It should be really cool.
Actually, I thought I'd interrupt you on that. The question I asked Lloyd was, what have you not been asked about, and what would you like to talk about? So he's in thought with that right now. So hopefully he will get back with me on that, and we will have something that is totally new.
Hopefully. But until then, everybody be safe. Have a great holiday season, and we will see you in January 7th, 2021. So thank you, everybody, for listening. We appreciate you.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.